Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining Discover Puerto Rico's December Industry Update. My name is Xiomara Rodriguez, and I am Discover Puerto Rico's Communications Director. On this industry update, Discover Puerto Rico's executive leadership team will share information and updates in the areas of research, marketing, and sales as we approach the end of 2020 and prepare for 2021. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's industry update will be translated simultaneously into Spanish. The slides will be available on our industry portal, discoverpuertorico.com/industry, so you can download the presentation and follow along. In addition, this webinar is being recorded, and later this week, you will receive a link to the recording so you can replay at your convenience. After the presentation, we will have time for Q&A, but feel free to send your questions as we go. You can do so by using the Q&A feature that is labeled Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Lastly, at the end of today's webinar, a survey will appear on your screen. We want to continue providing up-to-date information on the topics that are most relevant to you during our webinars. So please fill out the survey. We want to hear from you. La presentación del día de hoy tendrá subtítulos o closed captions en español. Si usted desea activar la función de subtítulos en español, oprima el botón etiquetado Closed Captions en la parte de abajo de su pantalla. Elija la opción que dice Show Subtitles para ver los subtítulos en español. Si desean ver el tracto completo de la traducción, pueden seleccionar la función que dice View Full Transcript. La presentación que utilizaremos el día de hoy está disponible en español y puede ser descargada desde nuestro portal de la industria discoverpuertorico.com/industry. Además, el seminario web del día de hoy está siendo grabado y más tarde esta semana recibirán un enlace con la grabación del mismo para que puedan repasar el contenido a su conveniencia. Por último, al final de este seminario web aparecerá una encuesta en su pantalla. Queremos seguir brindándoles información relevante sobre los temas que más les interesan durante nuestros seminarios web. Así que, por favor, completa la encuesta al terminar. Queremos escuchar sus opiniones. During today's industry update, you'll hear from our CEO, Brad Dean, Research and Analytics Director, Alicia Valentine, Chief Marketing Officer, Leah Chandler, Chief Sales Officer, Ed Carey, and our special guest, Chief Marketing Officer for Brands of Puerto Rico, Alan Taveras. Now, to get things started, I'll leave you with Discover Puerto Rico CEO, Mr. Brad Dean.
Saludos from your DMO, Discover Puerto Rico. I hope you, your loved ones, and your work team are safe and healthy. And likewise, I hope that despite the challenges we're facing today, you're able to enjoy the holiday season that is now upon us. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today to join us for this update on our industry and a look ahead as we wrap up 2020 and move into the new year. It appears that 2021 will begin the same way 2020 has played out. Tourism well below desired levels, with hopeful optimism that travel will soon pick up, bolstered by the encouraging news of COVID vaccines, yet weighed down by growing economic pressures and a lack of consumer confidence. Knowing all that you have had to endure in recent years, I don't think there's any tourism destination more eager for a rebound than Puerto Rico. And I know I speak for each member of our team when I say that we will do all we can to optimize your results and our collective success in the coming year. Each day, we are reminded of 86,000 reasons why we need to lead a robust recovery. And of course, that number represents the people employed by businesses like yours prior to COVID. Now, while COVID positivity rates have risen steadily in recent weeks throughout the United States, and the number of tragic pandemic-related deaths reaching alarming levels, we continue to see pent-up demand for future travel build. This is, of course, a good sign for 2021 and all the more reason why we simply must keep the Puerto Rico tourism brand top of mind with travelers, planners, and travel advisors. And unlike past crises where Puerto Rico faced a comeback of its own, every destination in the United States and beyond is looking to launch a recovery next year. So the level of competition has never been higher. This means we must be exceptional in all we do as your DMO. When we launched our COVID Recovery Action Plan back in the spring, we had no idea it would guide our strategy for 2021. But indeed, that plan, which has continually evolved throughout this year, is essential to laying the foundation for a recovery that will be faster and stronger than our competition. And while much has changed in recent months, one thing remains the same. We continue to rely upon sound research and solid data as we design our plans and strategies. You'll hear more today about some of the research encompassed in our planning, which informs our decision-making on a daily basis. We continue to lean into partnerships both on and off island to optimize our results and enhance our impact on your top line and bottom line. And while we're not all in the same boat, we are all in the same storm. So aligning and collaborating with partners who can help us achieve our goals is always a sensible strategy, but it takes on added importance as we climb out of this current situation. Today, you'll hear about just a few of the partnerships we've recently launched, including strategic alignment with top organizations in the meetings and convention industry, Brands of Puerto Rico, US-based travel advisors, and Conservación Conciencia, to name just a few. And while the current environment severely restricts travel, this does not mean we have to stop promoting Puerto Rico. Instead, we continue to inspire future travel by creatively highlighting what is unique, attractive, and appealing about our island. In past industry updates, we've covered some of the innovative approaches we've used, including virtual destination experiences and the It's Time campaign. Today, we'll share additional promotional angles we are using to strengthen our tourism brand and build desirability for future travel, including a diaspora-targeted informational effort, the exciting new video series, Sounds Like Puerto Rico, and publicity efforts, inserting our island into the steady stream of positive content in year-end and New Year media cycles. And of course, we remain agile and adaptive as we respond to emerging trends and ongoing changes in the marketplace, promoting remote work or workcations, aligning with our airline partners on their adjusted schedules, and hosting hybrid familiarization tours that help us attract future hybrid meetings. One niche of travel that holds promise for 2021 is incentive travel, which many believe will be at the forefront of the group business recovery cycle, and one that we are well positioned to capitalize upon. With so many changes in traveler sentiments, consumer preferences, travel planning considerations, booking cycles, and to a certain extent, the anticipated travel booking process, we recognize that in 2021 and perhaps beyond, the traditional definition of high season and low season may change. We are prepared to react quickly to those changes to capture whatever opportunities may arise. To this end, we are working very closely and daily with our partners in the public sector to identify the necessary funding needed to promote your business and our island. I'd be remiss if I did not take the opportunity to thank DDEC, the Department of Commerce and Economic Development, the Fiscal Oversight Management Board, AFAF, Vivienda, and of course, PRHTA and the tourism company for their partnership. We are prepared to wisely invest whatever funds they are able to provide us to achieve the quickest and highest returns. And while we remain optimistic about the long-term prospects for a strong recovery, we remain very aware of the economic damage that has been done. Businesses are struggling, people are unemployed, and uncertainty continues to hinder travel planning. Nevertheless, when I consider the many advantages that we enjoy over our competitor destinations, I can't help but feel confident that with the right strategies, solid execution, and broad collaboration, that together we can and we will write another amazing comeback story. For us at Discover Puerto Rico, it's imperative that we perform exceptionally in at least 3 ways. We must continue to be innovative, responding quickly to your needs and the changes taking place around us. Success in this challenging environment requires that we adapt and respond with agility, determination, and a laser-like focus on growing travel. And you can be certain that your DMO will continue to do exactly that. Second, we must be opportunistic. It's true that together we face many unprecedented challenges. It is also true that today we lack the funding to make a huge impact. But I'm highly confident in the passionate, talented team at Discover Puerto Rico. And while we may not be able to outspend our competition, we can outsmart and outwork our competition. And finally, we must be results oriented. We recognize you need help. Our success can only come through your success. So each decision we make is guided by positively impacting your business and our island. Like you, I had hoped to start 2020 off with a growing tourism industry, and unfortunately, that's just not the case today. But just because 2021 will begin with challenges does not mean we should declare defeat. You can be certain that the team at your DMO, Discover Puerto Rico, is determined to make 2021 as successful as it can be using the plans we've developed and whatever resources we're able to secure to ignite another economic recovery, no matter the circumstances. Frankly, you deserve nothing less. It's now my pleasure to turn the presentation over to our Director of Research and Analytics, Alicia Valentine.
Thank you. As Brad mentioned, we hope all of you are healthy, but not just in protecting your physical health against COVID, also your mental health. The research update today is difficult as so many of the numbers have taken a turn in recent weeks. Puerto Rico certainly knows resiliency, and that resiliency will be especially important as I walk you through the numbers that we've been tracking recently. When we last gathered just a month ago, things were looking optimistic. We'd seen strong gains in demand in October, and in the second week of November, we saw the highest occupancy on the island that we'd seen since our brief opening in July. But since then, we've seen week-over-week declines as cases on the mainland US continue to climb, media discourages travel, and the CDC raised the COVID threat level in Puerto Rico to a 4. And you can see here in room night demand that we were seeing gains in September and October, typically our months with the least demand. And because those first 2 weeks in November saw those increases continue, you can only start to see the decline here. However, November is when occupancy typically starts to climb as we head into high season. And looking at the year-over-year change in demand, we can see how those last 2 weeks of November really impacted the month. You can see how we had begun to close the year-over-year gap in October when room nights were off 40% from 2019. And you can see that that was the best year-over-year change since the start of the pandemic. That gap widened to 46% in November. And the first week of December was off 61% from last year's record-setting visitation. And unfortunately, looking at future booking data from our partners at Adora, that slide looks to continue. There had been a steep decline in bookings in recent weeks when we had been seeing fairly steady increases. We do know that the booking window is currently very short for Puerto Rico's dominant leisure segment of singles and couples. The booking window is now less than 15 days when pre-pandemic it was 31 to 60 days. But the only real solace to take is that it's not just us. Our future booking pace through the end of Q1 is pretty similar through the rest of the comp set. This looks at current monthly booking pace against the same time last year. So we're averaging 60 to 65% off that pace, with Aruba faring a bit better and the Bahamas and Miami a bit worse. And for the first time since the start of the pandemic, rentals are in the same boat as hotels. Every month when we've looked at future pacing for rentals, they were booking over 2019 levels, something no other destination in the comp set was seeing. But now the losses to the industry are also being felt in the rental market. They continue to fare a bit better in year-over-year losses than hotels for the coming months, but they're not booking nearly the amount of business that they had been throughout the pandemic. So what happened? Why the sudden change in the market in the past month? Well, over 200,000 daily COVID cases happened. But coinciding with the surge has been the announcement of the efficacy of the vaccines. And it has been encouraging to see those first doses of the vaccine given yesterday in the US. And while vaccine distribution is critical to the return of travel in the long term, it's likely to deter travel in the short term. At the beginning of November, 38.2% of consumers said they would not travel without a vaccine. But with media reports about the development pipeline, that rose to 46.7%. So with rising cases and consumer mindset, in the mindset of, I've waited this long, I'm going to hold out until the vaccine, there is decreasing confidence in the safety of travel. The current state of the pandemic has eroded Americans' confidence that travel can be done safely. Half feel not very or not at all confident that they can travel safely in the current environment, while just 23.9% are confident or very confident, down from nearly a third just 6 weeks ago. And while other sectors of the economy are anticipated to bounce back in 2021, travel will sustain long-term impacts. I warned you, your mental health was going to need protected from these numbers. The updated forecast from Tourism Economics and U.S. Travel Association doesn't have travel spending returning to those 2019 levels until 2024. Some of the reasons include low consumer confidence and high unemployment, the perceived threat of travel, and increased regulations and restrictions. And of course, it's not yet clear what travel requirements will be once a vaccine has been deployed, such as proof of health by an airline or destination. But I can't let us end here. Though it might be hard to remain optimistic given these numbers, travel will return. And we know we'll see increases in 2021. No, it's not going to be back to 2019 levels, but we'll welcome visitors again. Americans are already planning to make travel a priority in the coming year. There is so much pent-up demand for travel, and especially the kinds of trips that Puerto Rico offers. We must be prepared to capitalize on consumer interest. And there's a bright spot in these numbers. After weeks of decline in the receptiveness to travel information, consumers are again ready to hear about travel experiences. So I'll turn it over to Chief Marketing Officer Leah Chandler to discuss how Discover Puerto Rico is looking to capitalize on this receptiveness.
Thanks, Alicia. We continue to use our COVID-19 action plan to guide activities related to marketing and communications. Our focus has reverted to the regroup phase. A curfew remains in place along with other COVID closures and restrictions that were added in the most recent executive order. This has been driving the DMO's decision to market to consumers for future plans and bookings only. From a communications perspective, we are continuously updating our public-facing messaging to inform and educate the media and other constituents. We're communicating essential travel only, as health and safety remains our priority. The holiday season is upon us, and we know some still plan to travel, like the diaspora community who are visiting family and friends. It's critical we inform them of the latest measures and requirements. We revised our COVID-19 messaging that informs our website and travel advisory, consumer Q&A, and MICE materials, along with the latest changes, which include things like a curfew extension through January 7th, 24-hour lockdown on Sundays except for emergencies, and alcohol sales are prohibited on Saturdays and Sundays. We're also disseminating information from the latest executive orders to US and international media and sharing the facts related to evolving measures to keep Puerto Rico top of mind. We want to ensure that when it's okay to travel again, Puerto Rico is at the top of travelers' consideration set. We're thinking strategically about creative ways to keep potential travelers engaged now as they consider their 2021 vacation. Just today, we launched our Adopt a Coquí program in partnership with the Conservación Conciencia, a local nonprofit organization dedicated to environmental research and conservation. We're in the season of giving, and media are seeking do-good stories. Our goal with this seasonal activation is to highlight Puerto Rico's natural offerings while educating future travelers about the importance of enjoying our natural resources in a safe and responsible way, as we know many will be looking to explore the outdoors in the new year. The program gives potential tourists and residents the opportunity to virtually adopt a coquille in exchange for a small donation. All donations are going to Conservación Conciencia for them to continue their important mission. If you haven't adopted your virtual coquille yet, please encourage your friends and family to visit our website for more information, as the program will run through Three Kings Day. Puerto Rico has the longest holiday season, and while this year it's looking very different, we're leveraging this moment to include our unique traditions and gastronomy in U.S. mainland media to inspire future travelers to get a feel and taste of Puerto Rico from their homes. The Puerto Rico food scene remains a topic of interest for many reporters, especially around the holidays. We've recently partnered with Spoon Food Tours to host a virtual cooking session to teach all media attendees how to make tembleque from the comfort of their homes. We also highlighted our amazing arts and crafts, as they are unique in Puerto Rican holiday celebrations. A select group of media received a traditional craft from Plantitas Fancy, along with a painting kit to personalize. These are just a couple examples of the creative tactics we can execute despite not pushing travel now, engaging the press to write about Puerto Rican culture and inspire future travel to the island. We've outlined moments and events to leverage in the new year. Topics such as New Year, New You, Wellness, National Plan for Vacation Day, and Valentine's Day, among others, will be pursued proactively to garner coverage that benefits the whole destination. You'll see a variety of media outlets based on different topics here in the sample of some of the hits that Ketchum has secured recently. While we understand not all are comfortable with the idea of vacationing right now, media are seeking these types of stories as they continue to focus on future travel. And in order to increase the desirability of our destination, we need to make sure Puerto Rico is included in this new cycle. We continue to center messaging about planning future travel on social media to instill confidence and inspire. In addition to inspiration, we weave in references to travel guidelines and the protocols in place. As part of our partnership with Brands of Puerto Rico, we launched an activation on our social channels supporting small businesses leading up to Small Business Saturday. With 42 social posts during the promotion, it garnered 5 million impressions and 44,000 engagements. Leading up to the holidays, we continue promoting this message to positively impact local small businesses. And as we've previously shared, Sounds Like Puerto Rico is a new concept for us as we continue to explore content ideas to help keep Puerto Rico top of mind and showcase our entire island. Discover Puerto Rico sees the true potential in entertaining and educational narrative content that elevates the destination and inspires visitors to travel here. The series focuses on Puerto Rican lingo and the beautiful sounds of nature our island makes. In each episode, our hosts are on a quest to find the meaning of some of Puerto Rico's top sayings used in activities like surfing, nature, gastronomy, and culture. Sounds Like Puerto Rico was developed, produced, directed, filmed, hosted, and edited in-house with support from local freelancers. Our team shot 5 short-form digital episodes ranging from 5 to 10 minutes each. In total, our series highlights 9 municipalities. Our first episodes include surfing, coffee culture, bird watching, el yunque, our Taíno roots, and even one on reggaeton. The series launched on December 7th on our YouTube channel, as well as on its own landing page on discoverpuertorico.com. As mentioned in our November industry update, we believe remote work or workcations will extend long beyond the pandemic. Along with earned media messaging, we've created a micro campaign to influence extended trips where visitors can redefine the corner office. In this 30-second script, we share how we're bringing the island's colors to life in order to tout the benefits of working from Puerto Rico. New videos and still image assets are being finalized and will be available to our partners to use in their marketing messaging. The limited funds that will be invested in the micro campaign will be surgically targeted through SEM, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other outlets to reach employees in our target markets who have been working from home for 6 or more months in 2020 with no reentry plan in 2021. And we have officially re-entered the media marketplace, focused on driving bookings for future travel in 2021. We're focusing on awareness tactics to get Puerto Rico back into consumer consideration sets and educating them on the island's existing protocols. We're also putting a high importance on targeting to make sure we're reaching the right travelers. Looking at November media performance, this is prior to stricter measurements being put in place per the recent executive orders. We were able to increase share of voice in the marketplace and improve performance month over month. We achieved large increases in impressions for display, native, and total video views, and saw decreased social media costs per landing page view. Here are a few examples of some of the creative that's in the marketplace right now, featuring a focus on health and safety messaging as we continue to reinforce this. OTT continues to play a vital role in rebuilding awareness with more than 9.8 million impressions garnered in November. The video completion rate continues to be above industry benchmark for all audiences and for both of our creative spots. Now live on discoverpuertorico.com is a landing page and new supporting content for our remote work messaging. This includes 2 new articles, the top 10 reasons to work from Puerto Rico and a remote work FAQ. We will continue to add supporting content to this section of the website in coming months. Also now live on discoverpuertorico.com is a section dedicated to the Sounds Like Puerto Rico content series, including new supporting content. It features 6 landing pages, 1 for each episode, along with supporting editorial pieces and 6 Spotify playlists. So be sure to check this out. For the MICE market, recently, through our partnership with Amex Interaction, we were able to hold an informal focus group with 12 corporate meeting planners with American Express. This infographic was created by a third party, and some top-level takeaways included things like, even though planners didn't bring up hurricanes on their own, they did indicate there was concern around crime and safety on the island. Puerto Rico not having all-inclusive resorts came up, as many of these planners do plan incentive trips. And all believed that the addition of Distrito T-Mobile and being a US destination were important value propositions. We also recently deployed our own meeting planner perception study to our database, and we look forward to sharing those results with you in an upcoming meeting. We have identified opportunities to engage with meeting planners at the upcoming PCMA Convening Leaders event in January. As one of the top industry events moving into 2021, it's important to have a significant presence by sponsoring important sessions and their fitness series featuring a meditation session from the island. And we're also in the planning stages for new meetings content that will be created for 2021, including videos featuring the Convention Center, Distrito T-Mobile, testimonials, and other inspirational destination content. And with that, I will now turn it over to Ed Carey, our Chief Sales Officer, for more.
Thanks a lot, Leah, and good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well and enjoying the holiday season. A special thank you to our Customer Advisory Board members who are with us today. I really appreciate your support and look forward to speaking with you after the meeting. So, as we have indicated in our previous updates, that travel advisors remain optimistic and active in our GDS channels. Despite the rise in cases, another postponement in our opening date, the progress continues. And what you see here is consumed bookings and business on the books through the end of the year. And the last several weeks have been very active, though we may now see additional cancellations as the recent increase in cases and of course, the new restrictions take hold. And as in the past updates, most of the activity is being generated from a small group of our most important accounts. So naturally, we're staying in very close contact with these partners, and we'll refine our co-op programs to ensure that they remain engaged and motivated to sell Puerto Rico, especially as the restrictions begin to roll back. The growth in our travel agent expert program continues, well over 18,000 total enrollees and 10,000 graduated experts. These will be an army of advocates for the island that know us well, they're open to promotional outreach, and ultimately the best prepared to send business our way. Our trainings and webinars over the last several weeks have been focused on a call to action, and we're working with key partners to include incentives that motivate travel advisors. The event schedule continues to be dominated by virtual events, with some live interaction at our tailgate events in New York and New Jersey with Cecil Moreno. And just as we have been doing with our consortia partners, we will stay focused on agencies and advisors that can reactivate quickly and efficiently. So moving on, during our last update, and as Brad had mentioned earlier, we've seen solid lead activity from the incentive market. And many do believe it will be one of the first segments to return to travel. Recently, we attended a virtual event hosted by the Incentive Research Foundation, where they released a research study developed in partnership with the Financial and Insurance Conference Planners and the Society of Travel Executives, along with Oxford Economics. And just to be clear, when we say incentive, we generally mean recognition, awards, team building, and networking events, which very clearly cannot be duplicated virtually. And these can be from any industry or organization. This data was gathered from suppliers, buyers, third parties, DMOs, and DMCs all over the world and across 20 plus industries. We have a few of the key findings here that I thought you would find interesting. So while the industry as a whole, and particularly the United States, do expect to make progress towards 2019 activity levels next year, all regions expect to be close to 2019 levels in 2022. And the US-based respondents expect to exceed 2019 levels in 2023. Which is good news. The same progress was noted when these respondents were asked about their specific budget levels or those of their clients. The majority felt a significant progress would be made by 2022, with nearly all believing that they would be back to 2019 levels by 23. And when asked, what do you expect will be the greatest positive and negative factors impacting incentive travel? The single biggest positive factor was pent-up demand, or the desire to travel after being restricted for so long. On the negative side, the individual organization's fear of liability when their employees are traveling and the need to understand what overall budgets will look like in the coming months is a big concern. But ultimately, 77% of the respondents believe that once we have recovered, incentive travel will only moderately be different or very similar to what it was post-COVID. And when asked, and this is important, what factors incentive planners will view as critical to operate successful programs, obviously health and safety remain number one. And as we've mentioned on many occasions, the desire to book domestic destinations puts Puerto Rico in a good position as a US territory. So for those DMCs in the audience, incentive planners will be looking to you more than ever to help them provide the logistical support necessary to create those great experiences safely. And then we thought it was interesting that in terms of the overall experience, the incentive planners believe that the industry will move away from the standard group, dining and team building type events, and instead focus on factors that really provide meaningful impact and life experience, as well as corporate social responsibility and wellness. And once again, we believe these are areas where Puerto Rico can truly shine. So lead volume, it continues to improve. We continue to see better and better weeks, and in some weeks have actually exceeded last year's requested rooms, which is really important because throughout the pandemic, we've pushed very hard to stay engaged with meeting planners so that we could rebuild our pipeline of active leads. And as you can see on the right-hand side, we're making consistent progress towards pre-COVID levels in total potential room nights. In fact, our current pipeline of business, both on the books and in tentative status, is much stronger than our competition. The blue line you see here represents the average of a competitive set that includes Fort Lauderdale, Hawaii, Miami, and Palm Beach. And the green bars represent Puerto Rico. This is a significant opportunity, but it requires us to focus on this business before the competition wakes up and begins to offer significant deals and incentives to close the gap. So it has truly never been more important for the island's incentive fund to be renewed and for all of us to collaborate on converting this business. In the meantime, we will continue to maintain a presence at the most important industry trade shows, as well as those that we've developed ourselves, like the GPS events that we do in every region. And in November, we did see a return to live events, which was very encouraging with MPI, Conference Direct, and Connect Marketplace. But December did take a step back towards virtual engagement. However, we saw partners like HPN, who is a influential third party and strategic partner, move ahead with a face-to-face event, which we attended in Arizona last week. And I'd also like to highlight our recently completed hybrid destination experience, which was also held last week in our convention center's hybrid meeting studio. A really big kudos to our destination services team, and a special heartfelt thank you to our DMC partners who joined us as our live audience for an authentic hybrid presentation. Your commitment is appreciated, and it will make an impact on our recovery. So we had 266 planners and journalists from the US and Europe join us online as Jorge Perez outlined the incredible achievements made by the team at the convention center in developing their world-class health and safety protocols. And then Federico Stube gave us a sneak peek at the incredible story developing as Distrito T-Mobile is becoming a reality. And of course, another big thank you to PSAV, who provided the technical expertise and the innovative Chimes platform to bring this event to life. It really was a way for us to demonstrate our ability to deliver what the meeting planning audience is telling us they're looking for at the highest levels. And with that, Feliz Navidad, and I will turn it back over to Xiomara.
Thank you, Ed. Earlier, Leah mentioned how Discover Puerto Rico is supporting small businesses on the island and share about an activation around Small Business Saturday. For that, we partnered with local e-commerce platform Brands of Puerto Rico. To expand on the partnership and its impact, let's welcome Brands of Puerto Rico Chief Marketing Officer, Alan Taveras.
Thank you so much, Xiomara, and good morning to everyone. Our company started out as a response of a common experience every Puerto Rican living abroad has, receiving a care package from the island to cure their nostalgia. More than just a simple marketplace, Brands of Puerto Rico is a platform where all things Puerto Rico converge. We make those who we serve feel like home. Discover Puerto Rico and Brands of Puerto Rico have a common goal: to showcase the best of our island to the world. There are hundreds of islands in the world with great beaches and resorts, but what makes Puerto Rico unique is the talent of its people. The products designed and made by Puerto Rican hands are part of our tourism offer. A partnership with Discover Puerto Rico will increase the tourist investment in the island and engage those conscious consumers that are looking for an authentic experience. A great way to keep Puerto Rico in the consumer's top of mind during this pandemic, with all the travel restrictions, is giving them a taste of our food and our culture. Small Business Saturday was the perfect platform to start our partnership. Discover Puerto Rico ran a digital campaign funneling traffic to our website. On that Saturday, the DMO took over a home banner and our email blast, while we offered 10% discount to all our clients. It was a huge success. With this campaign, people interested in Puerto Rico also had a glimpse of our rising entrepreneur ecosystem. The more success stories we put out, the bigger the chances to attract digital nomads or remote workers to continue or start their companies from Puerto Rico. Entrepreneurs participating in the campaign are excited and grateful toward Discover Puerto Rico. They proudly share their content in their own social media channels. Some of the other brands are waiting anxiously on the next campaigns and when will they have a chance to be part of Discover Puerto Rico. The numbers don't lie. Thanks to this campaign, our KPIs grew exponentially. People that came through discoverpuertorico.com almost doubled the time spent by regular users. Our bounce rate dropped and they visited more pages. It's a fact that visitors are interested in buying and learning the stories behind the products made in the island. Revenue from this campaign was the key metric. Not only did Discover Puerto Rico's ad budget increase the interest in authentic Puerto Rican experience, but it represented a direct economic benefit to dozens of small businesses throughout the island. What's next? We are continuing the campaign throughout the Christmas season, focusing on artisans. With the lockdown on the pandemic, artisans have lost all public fairs where they used to sell their products. Brands of Puerto Rico, in partnership with the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña, is positioning itself to be a digital artisan fair. This campaign and partnership demonstrates the value that startups and the private sector can add to the DMO efforts. We are honored to share this experience and learn from Discover Puerto Rico's talented team. Thank you all for your time. I'm going to turn it back to Xiomara.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you to all the speakers for the information. We have some questions on the Q&A box, and in the time we have left, we want to answer as many questions as we can. But before we get started, I want to let you know that we will not be able to offer the translation feature during the Q&A session. So this portion will be in English only. Also, and as I mentioned earlier, the webinar is being recorded. So later this week, you will receive a link to a recording so that you can replay it at your convenience or share it with your colleagues who were not able to tune in today. My email is also on the screen. Please feel free to reach out to me if after the webinar you have questions or need any additional information. I will be happy to assist you. Lastly, I want to remind you that at the end of the survey, at the end of today's webinar, there will be a survey on your screen. We want to continue providing information on the topics that are most relevant to you. So please fill out the survey. We want to hear from you. A nuestros amigos que están utilizando nuestro servicio de traducción, no vamos a poder ofrecer la función de subtítulos en esta sección, así que la misma será solo en inglés. También les recuerdo que este seminario web está siendo grabado y más tarde esta semana le vamos a hacer llegar un enlace con la presentación para que puedan repasar el contenido a su conveniencia o compartirlo con algún colega que no haya podido estar presente el día de hoy. En pantalla están viendo mi correo electrónico. Pueden anotarlo y si al finalizar este seminario web tienen dudas, preguntas o necesitan alguna información adicional, pueden comunicarse conmigo a través del mismo. Por último, les recuerdo que al finalizar aparecerá una encuesta en su pantalla. La misma nos ayudará a continuar ofreciendo información relevante sobre temas de interés a nuestra industria. Por favor, participen de la encuesta. Queremos escuchar sus opiniones. Now let's get started with a few of the questions that we have on the Q&A box. Brad, this question is for you. As we all know, there is a dispensa request, which is what allows a special permit that allows people to conduct their weddings here on the island. But there is no clear information as far as the guidelines for people that want to do that here or even for our own private sector. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's a fair question, an important question, and the concern is certainly understandable. It's challenging enough to keep the individual travelers apprised amidst this constantly changing environment. But when you get into larger events such as meetings, conventions, or in this case, weddings, where there is no margin of error, there's so many details that become critical success factors. So I can certainly empathize with those in the wedding planning industry. And I think we all recognize that Puerto Rico offers tremendous potential for destination weddings, something we hope at Discover Puerto Rico to be able to expand more into when resources are available. As far as the defensa, I think the process itself, I think has been, I think the question referenced maybe not being as transparent. I don't think I haven't observed any intent to withhold that information. I think there's just been so many requests and so much is going into that process with a relatively small number of people involved that for those of us on the outside, which we are just like you, it may appear like the process isn't transparent. I think sometimes it's just the process and the machinations that are taking place that sometimes it isn't as clear to us, but all the more reason why that information should be shared and evident. We can't lobby for that, but we could certainly inquire and also share the concerns of the private sector. And we see this from the meeting planner side for meetings and conventions, so I can certainly understand and empathize with the question. What I would recommend is whoever's asking that question has far more insight into the details and probably has some good ideas on what should be done or what's not being done that would be helpful. So if you wouldn't mind, I would recommend email Xiomara, whose email is on the screen, and we'll be happy to immediately follow up with that. Again, we can't lobby, but there's nothing to stop us from sharing the information, ideas, and suggestions and concerns from the private sector. That's part of our role and mission. And we do have 3 board members that work in government. And of course, they're working in the transition mode now, but there's no reason why we can't extend the question and the information and suggestions through them and try to either get answers or resolutions to that. I should also point out, if you haven't already done this, the Puerto Rico Hotel and Tourism Association is constantly advocating or inquiring on behalf of private sector partners for all types of inquiries and very specific details, where they're seeking clarity or resolution of really specific instances that while they may not seem big to the broader industry, they're very, very important to certain businesses. And I suspect that the question that's been asked aligns very much with some of the inquiries that PRHTA has made as well. So if you haven't reached out to Clarissa Jimenez at PRHTA, please feel free to do that, but also include Xiomara in any of that information, and we'll be happy to follow up. Bottom line is this: it's an important question. Certainly, we need to get some resolutions to those issues, especially as we think about planning in 2021 and beyond. We're not directly involved, so I don't want to assume or misinform you at this point. We can't lobby, but we can definitely inquire and pass the information on. So use Xiomara's email as a reference point and share whatever insights or suggestions you have, and then we'll be happy to pass those on to the right people and see if we can help you either understand the process or maybe institute some solutions going forward.
Thank you, Brad. Leah, this question's for you. What are the DMO's plans to promote Vieques en Culebra, and specifically how you are planning to promote independent rentals on Vieques en Culebra?
Sure, great question. Short-term rentals are definitely a part of our strategic plan. We understand over the past couple of years what a significant impact they've had on the economy of Puerto Rico, and we know that this is something that consumers are trending towards when they're making lodging selections. So we'd be remiss to not be including that in part of our plans moving forward. To that end, a couple of months ago, we announced a partnership with Airbnb, where at no cost to the DMO, we were able to have access to data directly from Airbnb to help us in better making marketing decisions around marketing short-term rentals. We're also going to be included for free as a destination in some of their email blasts to the consumers. And we're also going to be just working directly with them in future partnerships and building out content on Airbnb's website that's specific to Puerto Rico. But of course, we know Airbnb is only a platform, so that's not the extent of our short-term rental engagement. We've also worked with short-term rental owners to begin aggregating content so that we have footage and images around some of our unique short-term rentals available in Puerto Rico. You also can have a listing on our website. So I encourage you to reach out again to CMR, and we can connect you with the right people on our team so that you can have your rentals information included on our website. And we're continuing to look for opportunities where we'll be building in short-term rental as part of our communications message. And I think a great example is remote work. We know that remote workers who are looking to come and stay for a longer period of time than our general leisure visitors are very interested in short-term rentals. So I think as we continue to build out our strategy post-COVID, there will be very specific instances where short-term rentals will make more sense for us, in addition to just kind of our general strategy for marketing and communications.
Thank you, Leah. We have time for one more question. This question's for you, Alicia. How has the recent downturn impacted the future air service?
Great question. So we monitor what's happening in air service weekly as we're making decisions in terms of what's happening in media and marketing and placement. And so we're keeping a close eye on those things. And of course, the airlines have been making changes constantly throughout the pandemic. So taking a look at where we were a month ago in terms of total seats through Q1, we're down about 12.5%, but when we take a look at when those cancellations are happening, it looks like January is primarily when those are concentrated. So not too much cancellation for December or March. Whenever I showed the booking activity for Adara, when our digital platforms are able to track, searches and bookings, and taking a look at when those bookings that are continuing to happen into the future, holiday weeks continue to perform very well. So right now, that looks like President's Day weekend in February, and Easter week aligns with what typically is many school spring breaks, the last week of March. I think Easter's around April 4th or 5th this year. So so there are bright spots in terms of increases in activity, and airlines are able to see those things as well. And so keeping February and March seats pretty stable, but really seeing declines in January right now.
Thank you, Alicia. I want to thank you all for taking time to join us today on this industry update. Our next industry update will be January 20th. So please mark your calendars. We'll be sending out an invite for that. And so please make sure that you'll join us then. Thank you very much again for being here today. Feliz Navidad y un próspero 2021. See you in January.